Hey everyone, I'm Jaden,
And I'm Noah.
and we are the Super Gamer Bros. And this is the Super Gamer Bros podcast. We're just a couple of brothers who love playing games, love talking about games, so that's what we do. Noah, I
Well
can't tell you,
said.
I can't tell you how excited I am for this one.
This one might constitute as one of our favorite games of all time.
You are 1,000,000% correct. And to everyone wondering, what are they talking about? We are talking about today,
It's
Noah.
on the title of the video.
Yeah, we are talking. It's a podcast. We are talking today, Noah, about Ratchet and Clank Going Commando.
Yes, we are. And Ratchet and Clank was actually the first Ratchet and Clank we picked up. It was also one of the first games that I would say we were obsessed with. We played this game over and over again, beginning to end, multiple times, and got everything. It also had basically what was like the first kind of New Game Plus system. So,
Well, that's not correct.
no.
It's the first we had experience with, but I'll say I actually looked it up earlier today
Hmm.
because I it was
Did
the
I not say
earliest
one
I
of
knew of.
one of the first?
I feel like you said the first, but either way, yeah, no, I actually looked it up earlier because I was curious what was the actual first
What was it?
implementation of New Game Plus. Chrono Trigger, 1995.
Hmm. Interesting.
As people recognize it today, being you start the game over with all of your equipment and stuff from your previous save.
Right. It's actually something you have to do in Gotham Knights for the plot.
Oh, that's a shame.
Well, you don't have to like finish the story or do
Oh,
anything in
that's
New Game
fine.
Plus. You just need to, it'll help you to go to New Game Plus to push from 30 to 40 in levels.
Oh, okay, I get what you're saying. Anyway, yeah, I think everything you said, one of the defining games of our entire lives. Also, if people are also wondering, hey, why, if it's such an important game, we're talking about it now, why is this episode up on a Friday and not a Monday? That's weird. That is because today, the episode this day comes out, November 4th, is the 20th anniversary of the original Ratchet and Clank release.
Shout out to Insomniac.
Shout out to Insomniac. We are absolutely diehard Insomniac fans here. Love Insomniac games and pretty much everything they've ever done.
So, what about Going
Um,
Commando stands out in the Ratchet and Clank series? Like, why
well,
is it still, after playing so many others, like the one that stands out to you?
well, I mean, for one, I like the nostalgia of it. It is the first one we played forever, and I mean, even if anyone wondering why on the 20th anniversary of Ratchet and Clank we aren't talking about the original, Noah never played that one, and I actually played it for the first time in like at this point just a few months ago. I think in August.
I did play the reboot.
The reboot, but the anniversary of the original. Why aren't we talking about the original? This game, Going Commando, we know so much more than the original. And also, I mean, of all the Ratchet and Clank games I've played so far, which I will stress, I have not played the reboot on PS4, and I have not played Rift Apart yet. I'm still making my way through playing all the games. Of everyone I've played so far, it still is my favorite weapon list. It is my favorite gadgets list. It is my favorite mini games list. I mean, of so many different categories, I think it just does better than the rest of the games, even the ones coming after it.
I completely agree. I would call it peak, um, because it was the best all around Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah,
The gadgets were a lot of fun.
yeah,
They had a lot of really interesting puzzles implemented with
yes,
them. I'm sure
yeah,
we'll get
yeah,
into.
yeah. There were several games I've played since that there are maybe one or two aspects I like better, but I think you did say it best. All around, it is the best.
Yeah, I do think the newest one is a
Rift
contender
Apart.
for one of the
Mm.
best too, though. It is very good in my opinion.
I am hoping so. I'm making my way there. Anyway, I mean, yeah, that's Gone Commando. We'll go ahead and jump on into it because there is a lot to talk about. Oh, I also want to say another reason we did not talk about this game for so long is I really love this game. I care about it so much. I wanted the episode to be as good as it possibly could in terms of me remembering things because one thing that I've learned doing this podcast is there are a lot of games I don't remember as well as I thought I did as I kind of start researching them and stuff. So I really like my favorite episodes to do are episodes of games that I just played because I just they're so fresh on my mind. And if we both had the free time, I think that is what I would want the podcast to be of like, oh hey, we're going to talk about this game, let's play it and then talk about it. And I wanted that to be like I wanted to do that with Going Commando. I wanted to play through it. So I did play through it in like August. And I was thinking about, oh, wait, can we talk about it? And it popped in my head of just looking up when the first game came out. And I was like, oh, it's November of this year is the 20th anniversary. Cool. That's when we'll put that episode up. And that's why we're doing it now.
So the game.
So the game. Now we will get into it with the setting. So Ratchet and Clank Going Commando takes place in the Bogon Galaxy.
Does every game up until this point take place in that galaxy?
No, actually, it does
Okay,
not.
just checking. I didn't know if they like traveled intergalactically.
As far as I can tell, I think this is the only game that takes place in the Bogon Galaxy from the ones that I have played. So yeah, the game, like most Ratchet and Clank games, takes place on several planets and space stations. Just like these smaller locations, ranging from a swamp planet to a bustling metropolis to a chemical lab to a casino. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of variety here.
Yes, and they're all well done.
Yes, and the game consists of 22 different locations that you can, explore to varying degrees. That's a lot,
It is a lot.
especially for a game that is as old as this PlayStation 2, having 22. It's basically like 22 levels, and I mean they're not short. I mean it takes you probably at least 30, 45 minutes to get through like to explore an entire planet. So I mean it's a very, very sizable game. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say about the setting. It's not like an open world. Each area is linear. There might be like multiple different paths, but each path is linear. So yeah, that's the set. I don't know. Did you have any additional comments? If not, we'll go ahead and move on to the story.
No, it's too much to talk about.
All right. We will go ahead and move on to the story. So after saving the Solana Galaxy, so that's where the first game takes place, the Solana Galaxy. After saving the Solana Galaxy from the menace of Chairman Drek, Ratchet and Clank become celebrities, though their lives remain otherwise uneventful. After giving an interview for the Holovision show Behind the Hero, the pair suddenly find themselves teleported into a spaceship sent by Abercrombie Fizzwidget, the founder and CEO of Megacorp, the Bogon Galaxy's largest maker of consumer goods and electronics, who requests Ratchet's help to recover a stolen biological experiment from a masked thief, while offering Clank employment in the company, both of whom agree to the opportunities offered. Upon completing an extensive training regime en route to the galaxy, Ratchet is tasked with traveling to a flying laboratory on planet Aranos, where the experiment was last seen. Before he can retrieve it, the thief manages to escape with it. Reporting back to Fizzwidget, Ratchet soon begins pursuing the thief, only to receive a video message showing that the culprit has captured Clank in an attempt to deter Ratchet from his mission.
Just want one game where Clank doesn't get kidnapped.
They get separated a lot. Anyway, after saving Clank from the thief's clutches, the reunited duo work together to pursue the thief across several planets, dealing with mercenaries hired from Thugs for Less to protect the thief, leading to a confrontation on planet Siberius. Although the thief escapes from them after a fight, Ratchet and Clank secure the experiment and arrange a meeting with Fizzwidget so that he can reclaim it. During the handover, Fizzwidget accidentally maroons the duo in a network of caves on the desert planet Tabora. After making their escape, the player are confronted by the thief, who accidentally exposes his true identity, a female Lombax named Angela Cross, who used to work for Megacorp as a scientist. Warning the pair that the experiment is a threat to the entire galaxy, Angela gives them the location of a testing facility on planet Dabo where it was created, and advises them to seek out the evidence that confirms her story. Following her lead, the duo infiltrate the facility and discover a video recording that reveals the experiment to be highly dangerous and capable of going into a murderous rampage. Shortly afterwards, Angela contacts the pair and reveals that Megacorp has duplicated the experiment and intends to sell them as a new product called the Protopet.
Story is so good, and Angela is one of my favorite characters in all of Ratchet and Clank.
Angela's awesome.
Yeah, well, her character and her personality is awesome for sure. But I thought it was really cool the fact that there's no Lombaxes. They bring that up all the time. and then they just bring in this female Lombax who's perfect for Ratchet, and I'm like, all right, here we go. This could go somewhere. This could be a plot. And then she never shows up again.
Never shows up again. I mean, that is really I feel like that's such a kind of like PS2 era action kind of game thing to do where you kind of have like a sort of new love interest for the main character guy in almost every game. And Ratchet is the poster child for that.
Yeah, it's depressing is all I'm saying. In
Yeah.
the newest game, the female version of Ratchet,
Don't
Ridget,
spoil it. Don't spoil anything for
I'm
me.
not spoiling it, but
Also,
she's
her
just
name
pretty
is
cool.
Rivet,
Rivet,
which
thank
is,
you.
like Ratchet and Rivet. It's like they're
Yeah,
both tools.
you play as them pretty equally, but she has a hammer instead of a wrench. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I've seen the trailers and stuff. She also has a robotic arm.
That's true.
Anyway, convinced that Fizzwidget is unaware of the Protopet's flaws, Ratchet and Clank go to warn him. On fire today. Ratchet and
I could read
Clank,
a paragraph.
nah, it's fine. Ratchet and Clank go to warn him during a promotionary event being held on planet Bolden, only to discover it to be a trap by the Thugs for Less boss, their contract with Angela having been bought out by Megacorp. Captured, the pair find themselves transported to Arados and aboard the same vessel now being used as a remote prison, but manage to escape confinement. Discovering that Angela was captured by them, the pair track the mercenaries to their hideout on planet Snivelac, defeating their boss and saving Angela. Intent on stopping Fizzwidget, the group head for Megacorp's headquarters on planet Yeedil, only to discover that Fizzwidget is none other than disgraced hero Captain Quark. Having trapped the real Fizzwidget in a supply closet and stolen his identity, Quark unleashed the Protopet upon the galaxy so that he can use a device created by Angela to defeat the creatures and restore his former reputation, all while framing Ratchet, Clank, and Angela for his crimes. When he demonstrates the device, however, it malfunctions and transforms the original Protopet into a gigantic beast that devours him. While Angela goes to rescue the real Fizzwidget, Ratchet subdues the Protopet, saving Quark's life. With Clank's help, Angela fixes the device and broadcasts a signal through Megacorp's TV transponders, neutralizing the Protopets and restoring peace to the Bogon Galaxy. In a mid-credit scene, Ratchet, Clank, and Angela hang out at Clank's apartment, where Angela informs them that Quark has been assigned work as a test subject for the Crotchetizer at Megacorp as punishment for his actions.
I was gonna say, I love that Captain Quark is always causing like 40 to 60% of the problems in Ratchet and Clank games, and Ratchet just
Yeah, no,
treats him
he's
like
like a
he's a
recurring.
goofball.
I mean, I hate Captain Quark. I hate how annoying he is,
What? I
and I
love
hate
Captain
I
Quark.
hate how I don't know if we'll ever talk about it, but Up Your Arsenal, the game after this one, is all about Quark, and everyone like loves Quark and thinks he's awesome, except for really one person other than Ratchet, and Ratchet's the one doing all the work. And it just like I get that, it's supposed to be funny and annoying and stuff, but it just pisses me off,
Yeah, I
man.
like it better when the galaxy knows he's a fraud. Like I think in the reboot or the newest game, it's like he's treated as more of a joke by everybody, and he's just like a fun tag along character.
Yeah, no, and in Up Your Arsenal, like everyone is all about Quark and how brave he is, how smart he is,
Like they
he's a
think
hero
he
stuff,
saved
and
the
it's like,
galaxy. Yeah,
yeah, and it's Ratchet doing all the work, and it's just annoying. Anyway,
the
no, that's the
gameplay.
story. Oh no, sorry, no, that's the story. I love the story. I think it is awesome. The Angela reveal was awesome. Yeah, it was a great story. It is. I don't know where I would rate it in stories, but it's definitely up there in terms of the Ratchet and Clank series
I
so
would put it
far.
in my second with Rift Apart at number one,
I
and
would
then the reboot
maybe
at three.
I would maybe put it second and put Up Your Arsenal first. Yeah, like, I think I would maybe put Up Your Arsenal first, but it's very close between the two.
So anyway,
Anyway, gameplay. Noah, why don't you get us started on that gameplay?
okay. So Ratchet and Clank is kind of a platformer puzzle solver, but it's really mostly about the combat. It's a third person action platformer with shooting as the main form of combat. The game locks on automatically to enemies within range of you, and a first-person aiming mode is also available. It's not the best. You don't really
What?
use it a lot. The first person.
I want to interrupt with that real quick. So as I said, it was a few months ago. I went back and played the original PS2 trilogy again. So as what you said here, the game automatically locks onto enemies. The improvement of that automatic lock on from Ratchet and Clank to Going Commando is so insane. How much better it is. Um, because it's funny, as you said, the first person aiming mode, we don't really use it because you don't have to. In Ratchet and Clank, the first game, I used it all the time because the automatic aiming was so bad that you have to, you know?
That's crazy to me because
Yeah,
every other
like,
Ratchet and Clank game is like you almost never aim down sights.
yeah, absolutely. It's very, very good, the automatic aiming on those games, except that first one on PS2. Um, yeah, it was so, yeah, it was just not great. I had to, like, there were so many times I found myself, it was weird because to me it was something that I thought was sort of a negative and a positive. Because yeah, using the I actually liked using the first person aiming more. I thought it was fun to use, but I had to do it because the automatic aiming feature just was not good.
I don't know.
Um,
Typically in those kind of games, the first person aiming's not that great either because it works on like kind of like a tile system rather than like a free move. And so if an enemy is
um,
in between those tiles, it can be hard to hit them. But that's just my experience from like Jack and other Ratchet games. But maybe that one is better because they focus more on that rather than the lock-on system.
it is. I mean, it is free aiming, but it is also very like the sensitivity is very weird sometimes. Like if you tap the stick left, it'll jump 5 feet to the left. So trying to aim at one specific target can get kind of annoying. But overall, I think it works. I think it works fine. It's just as we had said, the automatic aiming works so well in Going Commando that you don't really have to do the first person aiming that much.
So speaking of aiming, to aim, you need weapons. This is what it's all about, Jaden. There are 22, no less than 22 firearms.
This is what it's all about. Ratchet and Clank, from the very beginning, has always been about the guns, man.
I mean, like, yeah, the guns are great, but I also love the one thing that carries over to every single game for sure, which is the Omni wrench. Ratchet has an Omni wrench, which is basically like a big wrench, and you have a melee button to do a basic 3-hit combo, and you can also do a jump attack that slams you to the ground. You can also throw it. In some games, it's harder to aim, like in Going Commando, it's not that great. You only use it when you have to, really.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, when I played through this game recently, I could probably count on one hand the number of times I actually threw the wrench. It's not something I do a lot.
right. I will tell you in the later games, they actually implement it into a mechanic. It's really cool.
Like kind of like a
Uh,
puzzle solving mechanic.
yeah,
See, I think that's
because they
really good. I
have
think
like
that's
a
something.
magnetic ability where you like throw it and then you can move a platform with it.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Uh-huh.
So, I'm just gonna really quickly go through the list of guns here, and then we can talk about a couple that really stand out.
Yep, our favorites.
Yeah. All right. So you have the Lancer, the Gravity Bomb. The Lancer and the Gravity Bomb basically repeat in every Ratchet and Clank game, though they might be called different things. They're usually called those. There's also the Blitz Gun, the Chopper, the Seeker Gun, the Pulse Rifle, Synthenoid, Lava Gun, Bouncer, Mini Rocket Tube, Plasma Coil, Spiderbot Glove, Sheepinator, Hover Bomb Gun, Zodiac Gadget, Shield Charger, and the Rhino 2.
Which
Um,
no, do you know what Rhino stands for?
no,
It is rip ya a new one.
that is funny.
That is funny.
Yes, the Rhino I do want to talk about, but we can talk about that last just because it's the best. The one I'm going to talk about is every Ratchet and Clank has some form of this type of weapon, and I think in this game it's the Spiderbot Glove, which is where you toss out basically minions who can attack and take aggro
Ooh,
for you.
actually, no.
No, is that not that one?
Um,
Wait, is that the remote controlled spider?
yes, that's the
Ah,
remote controlled spider.
okay.
The
This
one you're
this
thinking
one
of,
this game
it's
has one like that, right?
yes, it's the Synthenoids.
Oh, okay. It changes in every game. Sometimes it's things that crawl on the ground for you. Sometimes it's
Hmm.
robots that fly around and shoot for you.
Yeah,
I forget what they're called. They have a funny name though.
yeah.
Uh,
My favorite, my favorite of all the games I've played so far is the Synthenoids, because, like you said, they fly around and stuff. I think they're the most useful of all the ones I've used.
yeah, I just like those type of weapons that are like you set it down, it's an area of effect because when I'm playing Ratchet and Clank, I'll like throw all of those down in a fight first and then switch to a regular gun. And so it's like I have 8 things on the field doing damage as well as me.
Yeah, yeah.
Anything else stand out?
Oh yeah. The bouncer, love the bouncer. You shoot a giant ball that bounces and then blows up, and then there's a ton of tiny little balls that also bounce and blow up.
Yep.
Um,
You have
it's
to
a great
mention
one.
the Sheepinator too.
Oh, the Sheepinator. There is one of these in every game. In I forget what it is
It's
in
kind of
the
like a joke.
original.
It's like a gag
Oh yeah, it's
weapon.
the gag weapon. You lock onto an enemy, it turns them into sheep. A sheep. Yeah, I think in Up Your Arsenal, it turns enemies into ducks. I think it's called the Quackinator. That might not be correct. Yeah, it's fun. Oh, the chopper. I absolutely love the chopper. It's the ninja star gun,
Oh,
basically.
that's a good one.
Shoots out ninja
Because it
star
just
that
goes
hits
around.
enemies, like hits an enemy and it'll bounce off, hit another enemy until
It
it blows up
ricochets.
and stuff. Ricochets, that's the word. Yeah,
Um,
absolutely a
and then
great
of
great
course
one.
the Rhino too.
The Rhino 2.
Every Ratchet and Clank, the hardest weapon to get and perfect is usually the Rhino. And the Rhino is basically like a mini Gatling gun that shoots ridiculously fast and it's also ridiculously strong.
It
So,
it one shots every enemy.
yeah, and you can melt the final
Maybe like
boss.
two shots, but yeah, it any small enemy one shots and absolutely rips through any boss.
But it is hard to get in the first place. Like,
Oh yeah,
you
it's
have to
expensive.
have
That's it.
beaten the game or almost beaten the game to get it.
No, it's just expensive. Like you actually can buy it and go in Commando very early on, and actually even the original Ratchet and Clank you can buy it pretty early on. It's so expensive that you can't. It's so expensive to the point where most of the times you probably have to go into challenge mode to be able to get it. Because we'll talk about challenge mode later. But yeah, no, it's great. The Rhino 2, well, the Rhino itself is actually different in each game. For example, in Ratchet and Clank, it shoots out like a bunch of missiles at once, and can target multiple enemies at once. I believe in Up Your Arsenal it works more like that as well. This is the only one where it is kind of that I've played so far that it is that kind of just Gatling gun style. But that is my favorite version of it. I absolutely love the Rhino 2 and Going Commando. Um, there are also returning weapons from Ratchet and Clank. If you have, back in the memory card days, if you had a save for Ratchet and Clank on your memory card, you actually got all of these weapons for free. There is the bomb glove, the walloper, which is like a giant boxing glove. It's actually a melee weapon. The decoy glove, which throws out little decoy ratchets, like little things that aggro enemies. The Tesla claw, which is like this crab claw that shoots out lightning, and the Visibomb gun, which is like a remote control rocket. Yeah,
Iconic weapons.
iconic weapons.
They continue forward.
Um, and
In
then
challenge mode only, there is the Clank Zapper.
Yeah, so basically Clank on your back can zap enemies, but you cannot get that weapon until you start challenge mode.
Interesting.
Yes.
Here's a
Um,
mechanic that I absolutely love about Ratchet and Clank. Each weapon, in this game, except for returning weapons, have a growth bar, like basically like a level bar, which increases when the weapon is used to defeat enemies. The weapon is upgraded once the bar is filled, increasing its power and changing the design of it so it looks different. This is something they've continued in all their games, and I think it's just really cool.
yeah. This
First of
was
all, if
actually
you love a
oh,
weapon, it gets better.
yeah. This was actually one of the first sorry, this was the first Ratchet and Clank game to do that. The first game did not have upgraded weapons. Yeah, I love it. As it says, as Noah said, the design of the weapon actually changes and the name of the weapon changes, which I think the designs, most of the part, all look awesome. And the names, I love the names. Like the gravity bomb guns becomes the mini nuke, the synthanoid becomes the killanoid, the sheepinator becomes the black sheepinator. Really, really cool aspect of this game. I absolutely love upgrading the weapons.
Right. Something else that was new to this game, I actually didn't know this either, but they continued this mechanic, but armor. New to Going Commando in several planets, Ratchet can find armor vendors with 4 different levels of armor he can purchase that provide additional protection from enemy attacks, basically just upgrading his defense and lowering the amount of damage he takes from enemies. This is really cool though because the armors all look good and they have a gameplay effect, so every time you find an armor vendor with a new set, it's like, oh, I gotta save up for that armor.
Yeah, the armor, I like it and I don't like it because it wasn't in the first game, but by having it, it gives them an excuse to make the enemies even more tough, which, if you don't have the best armor available at that given point in time in the game, enemies will kill you very, very quickly, no matter how much health you have. And I feel like it's a little too quickly.
I like that though because it forces you to use the armor.
I mean, yeah, you're right. You're right. That's, I imagine, was done very purposefully. Anyway, then also you have nanotech, which is basically just Ratchet's health. This is vastly different from the original game. In the original, I think you started off with 4 health, and then at one point on one planet, you could find a vending machine you could buy an upgrade to get to 5, and then a second upgrade to get to 8, and that's it. That's it. That's all the health. And every hit did 1 damage to you. In this, as I said, with armor and with health, enemies could do a lot more than just 1 damage to you. So in Going Commando, Ratchet has a maximum of 80 health. 70 levels of health are gained with experience as you defeat enemies, much like weapons. And then 10 are actually found in the numerous worlds as they're like collectibles, sort of.
I didn't know that, but I actually much prefer that method of health
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. All right, well,
because
anyway,
Jack and Daxter has that where you just have like 8 or 9 hits
uh,
and they can go fast.
absolutely. No, it's a far superior system. Anyway, traversal. So, Ratchet and Clank features linear levels, wherein you run, jump, and glide your way through the various planets. So it's basic platforming. Like I certainly wouldn't identify Ratchet and Clank as a platformer to anybody, but there are platforming challenges that you have to deal with sometimes. And I don't know what you would call them. I feel like they're not necessarily difficult enough to be called puzzles. So I guess maybe obstacles that you use your many different gadgets to get through. What are those gadgets, Noah? Well, I'll tell you right now. I guess kind of your main 5 that you use to actually get around. 6, sorry, there's 6. 7. It's 7. Uh, so there's the dynamo. Noah, do you remember? I'm gonna name these, and I'm gonna ask you if you can remember what they are.
The only one of these I know by name are the grind boots, slingshot, gravity boots, Terminator, tractor beam. I don't know what dynamo is. I don't know what hypnomatic is or charge boots.
Okay. Well, there are 8 things listed here. The charge boots really aren't useful for anything. They zoom you across the space, which is really only useful for like running away from enemies. So the dynamo, I'm sure you'll remember it, Noah. It makes the green platforms.
Guess so.
I can't believe you don't remember. I
Are
this
they
that
they like invisible when you shoot it?
Yeah.
Or they're like transparent, I mean?
Yeah, they're transparent. It's got those like that little like ball you shoot that
Yeah, then I
pops
think
out and
that's
like
like your
rotates around.
main platforming tool, right? That and the slingshot.
And then the tractor beam, obviously, use it to move specific objects around that use to mainly use them to like get to higher places. The therminator, really interesting. It freezes water or melts ice. It shoots whatever balls at whatever temperature that you need. Like it's not something you change the settings of. If you aim at ice, it'll shoot fireballs. If you aim at water, it will shoot ice balls. Some very unique little, obstacles as you deal with throughout the game because of this. Specifically, you'll have these kind of pools of water that are rising and falling, and you have to freeze them at the right time. Pretty interesting. Gravity boots let you walk metallic surfaces. The swing shot is a grappling hook. The grind boots are what allow you to grind on rails. One of the most iconic parts of Ratchet and Clank are the rail grinding.
I was gonna say mechanic.
Yeah, mechanic. Is the rail grinding. I don't know if Ratchet and Clank did it first, but it is certainly synonymous with the Ratchet and Clank series, where you grind on rails, you jump back and forth between different rails to avoid obstacles. Yeah, super iconic. I absolutely love grinding. I absolutely love doing that in any
Yeah, it's
game
super
ever.
fun.
Yeah.
I just like all the gadgets because it was like they're kind of like weapons or tools that are for non-combat situations. So you still
Yes.
have like a wheel for that. Well, I
Yes.
mean, they're on the same wheel, but
Yes. Yes. And then the hypnomatic lets you control certain robots.
oh
Yeah,
yeah.
very situational. You get it late in the game. It's very situational. Anyway, that's traversal. It's a very simple part of the game. Then we get on to additional gameplay mechanics. Well, for starters, what is one of my favorite aspects of Ratchet and Clank Going Commando, ship combat. Ship combat was sort of introduced in the original Ratchet and Clank. The boss fight against Captain Quark is actually in a ship, but that is the only instance where you actually do any sort of spaceship battle in the original Ratchet and Clank. In Going Commando, it is a fleshed out, actually, decent chunk of the game where you use a variety of weapons on your ship to complete objectives, usually destroying a number of enemy ships, like waves of enemies, or a number of larger targets. There are 3 different locations where you do your ship missions, each with 4 missions for you to complete. And also, some of those missions are races. Each location does have a race. Yeah, that's in general what ship combat is, Noah.
Did you want to talk about the weapons?
Oh, sure, yeah. I guess I'll just run through it real quick. So you have your laser cannons, a mine launcher, a missile launcher with lock on, obviously, a torpedo, and just a straight up nuke.
All right, so there we go. I completely agree with you. The ship combat is one of the best parts of the game.
I mean, if you want to know, Noah, because I know you did not play Up Your Arsenal. At least I'm pretty sure you never did. Probably the biggest thing that keeps Up Your Arsenal from topping Going Commando in terms of why I think Going Commando was a better game, they got rid of ship combat in Up Your Arsenal.
That is odd. I do remember playing Up Your
Um,
Arsenal briefly.
I mean, it absolutely shocked me because it's such like it was so good. I loved it. I thought it was that not a popular. Did people not like that? Was that not a popular mechanic? I was shocked that it did not come back and really upset about it because it's so fun. It's something that it gives you a break from the classic level format. I love it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I absolutely love it.
So along with that, we have the upgrades and customizations. All right. At Slim Cognito's Ship Shack, you can purchase upgrades for your ship using Raritanium. These increase the effectiveness of Ratchet's weapons and shields. Also, you can customize your ship with different wings, noses, and paint jobs. The amount of mechanics in this game is astounding. I loved upgrading and customizing my ship, and it
Absolutely.
gave you another reason to collect the Raritanium.
Well, it was the only reason.
Well, I mean, just for like 100%.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I thought the upgrades were cool. Obviously, I mean, my favorite part was your paint jobs. There are so many paint jobs, and they're so cool. I love them. You know the paint jobs?
Yeah, the paint jobs were good. I was just waiting for you to get to the next thing because that's
Oh,
like my
sorry.
favorite part of this whole game. These
Well,
next two
it's
things,
well,
actually.
it's like a typical kind of co-host format. As I say my thing, and then you say your thing, and then we move on. So I was just waiting for you to say your thing. Just
Hey,
we keep
wait
that
a
keep that in
second.
mind for the
I
future.
just said the first thing on that one.
But you didn't
Then you
specifically
were the
mention how you
rebuttal.
felt about. Well, you didn't mention how you felt
I
about paint
did.
jobs. So you just mentioned that so the gladiator arena. These are combat challenges that,
Put
yeah, I guess it should be, huh? That put Ratchet up against a whole host of foes. The challenges last several rounds, and obviously as you get through the game, they get increasingly more difficult. They include variations like timed challenges, boss fights, and anti-gravity rounds. And that's kind of the basics of it. Your basic enemies are kind of the gladiators, robots, these little balls that fly around, and when they get close to you, they open up and have like a rotating blades of death. Yeah, I mean I love them.
The gladiator arenas are one of the best parts of the game. It's just so fun.
I mean,
Uh,
absolutely.
and I would say, actually, in my experience, even the hardest ones aren't too difficult because they're
No, they're
challenges where there's like win with only your wrench or don't take a hit. And even then, I'll still beat them on like the second or third try.
Oh yeah, no, as long as you have the proper weapons and armor, it's not too bad. Even, there's the I mean, took me maybe like 45 minutes to do the impossible challenge. It's the last challenge of the game. It's 60 rounds where you go, back and forth between the ground and the anti-gravity bubble, and ends with a boss fight. I think there's like a boss fight at round 30 and a boss fight at round 60.
Good times.
Yeah, great times. And I mean, the bosses in the gladiator arena are just two, specifically the first two, because I think there are a total of four bosses you can fight in all the gladiator arena. Specifically the first two are just live rent free in my head every day, being chain blade, and the B2 brawler
It's the B2 Brawler.
brawler. Yeah, absolutely.
Hilarious too. And
Absolutely
what's fun
hilarious.
about those is they come back too, and the announcer's like, "The BT Brawler wants a rematch," and I'm like,
Yeah,
"This man's
no,
going
yeah,
down again."
yeah, yeah. I also love like the very first time you go to the first challenge arena that you have to do for the story. The announcer's like, and now our next challenger, this guy, because he doesn't know his name and stuff. It's funny.
It's funny. Ratchet and Clank is funny. I actually have recently changed my favorite sidekick to Daxter, though. I think he's just hilarious and
I hate
candid.
him. I think he's super annoying.
He can be, but he also says things that are funny.
Uh,
Anyway,
I think he's super whining and annoying. Clank is way
another
better.
mechanic.
Another mechanic, the hover bike races. It's an upgraded version of the hoverboard races of the original Ratchet and Clank. Frankly, I hated the hoverboard races. Actually, that's not true. Once I got the hang of them, I thought they were fine. But especially at the beginning, when I did not know what I was doing, I did not like it. The hoverbike races, I think, are a lot easier to get the hang of, because I'll say, Noah, since you actually played Spyro, if you remember in Spyro 3, the skateboard races
I do.
where you had to do tricks to gain turbo, that's what the hoverboard races are. It's the exact same thing almost. And
Gross.
yeah, I didn't like that. Again, once I got the hang of it, not bad. But the hoverbike races, I mean, they're awesome. They're like, combat races, so you get
They
weapons that
feel
you can
almost
use to
like
attack
pod
enemies.
races.
Absolutely, yes. You get weapons that you can attack enemies. You have, there are many different shortcuts unlocked, boosts, just classic pod racing. Uh, Probably how Wipeout works. I never played any of the Wipeout games, but probably I imagine it's similar to that, but not as fast. Yeah, I mean, I love the hoverbike races. Absolutely love them.
Oh, yeah, they're fantastic. Anyway, you can't talk about
No,
Ratchet.
why don't you talk about the?
You can't talk about Ratchet without talking about Clank.
You cannot talk about Ratchet without talking about Clank.
It's a staple of every Ratchet and Clank game that, like we said, they do get separated a lot. And
I
in
mean,
those sequences, you will play as Clank.
and I mean literally, his name is in the name of the game. Like
Yeah, true.
Daxter can't say that for all of their games.
Yeah, he's never playable.
That's not true.
Oh, interesting.
He just
So,
his name is only in the first one. Is what I was saying.
oh, okay.
But
Well,
Clank,
I
it's
mean,
his
I've
name in
never
every
played as
game.
him. Never plays anybody but Jack. Anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, the Clank sections. A couple of times in the game, you control Clank by himself as he controls a number of other robots to traverse an area. There are several different bots at his command. including a bridge bot, a hammer bot, a strong bot, and the normal bots that can attack and are used to unlock doors. These sections are really more treated as puzzle solving sections, but they've always been some of my favorite because I like to see that Clank is useful, other than just being Ratchet's backpack. That's just me. I'm actually going to go ahead and talk about the giant Clank sections also because
Well,
I feel like
actually,
these
I actually do
closely
want to
tie.
interrupt the giant. Sorry, I want to interrupt. Just talk about the Clank sections. I do like them, just like you do. I do like them. My really only complaint, I don't think they happen enough. In Going Commando, I think you do it twice, and that's it.
That's
I
typical in those games, though. You really don't play as Clank many
yeah,
times. It's
yeah,
unfortunate, but it
I
is what it
that's
is.
yeah, that's my
That's why
only
we're going to talk about Secret Agent Clank one day.
yeah, one of the greatest spin-off games of all time, absolutely. Yeah, I mean that's really my big thing about the Clank sections is I just wish there was at least one more opportunity of doing it because I do think it's a fun kind of like the other mini games, the hover bike races, the ship combat levels. It's a break from the normal gameplay and it's just a nice change of pace.
Right. So anyway, the giant Clank sections, taking place twice. Clank gets a huge upgrade and travels to fight a giant robot and a mothership, destroying cities in these battles of giants. Right. So giant Clank is just trampling over buildings. Clank has melee attacks, missiles, and bombs. These are extremely fun portions of the game, and I don't know if any other Ratchet and Clank game has this mechanic. At least not one I've played.
Up your arsenal does, but it only happens once, and my God, it is nowhere near as fun. I think Going Commando absolutely does it the best. Actually, it's you do it in the first game as well, but it's a much shorter section.
Yeah, they dropped it after Up Your Arsenal, I guess,
Yeah.
because in the future games that never happens, and then in the current games he doesn't either.
Yeah, it's really fun. Probably my only complaint about about the giant click sections. They're hard. Like they're hard fights.
They are hard, but I like that because Clank's other sections are very easy,
That is correct. That is his other sections are very easy. Yeah, no, they're certainly very what's the word?
straightforward.
Nerve-wracking. Oh no, I was gonna say the giant click sections very
Oh, the
nerve-wracking.
giant Clank sections are
Yeah,
nerve-wracking.
they're like not once in the ones that I did Going Commando all the times. Not once was I ever like, this is a breeze. Every time I was like, oh God, I'm gonna die. I gotta run and get health. Oh my God, I'm gonna die. Oh my God. It's yeah, difficult. But yeah, that's your playing as Clank. That's all your Clank stuff. Now, the puzzle solving. So Ratchet and Clank Going Commando includes two puzzle-like mini games. First is the electrolyzer. How that puzzle works, it's a grid-like layout where you have to flip connectors to allow a blue particle to pass through. So, you have your grid, you have all these connectors that are facing either vertically or horizontally, and you have all these blue dots that are moving around, and you have to follow along to see which dot is going to hit a connector next. You have to kind of figure out which one, and you have to flip so that it hits the right part of that connector. And when it does, the connector disappears, and you have to do that until you get all the connectors destroyed. I don't destroyed is probably not the right word until they all disappear. It's fun. I really like these. I don't particularly find the electrolyzer puzzles challenging. I do wish they were a bit harder, but they are fun. I enjoy doing them. They make me feel smart.
Did you talk about both of them yet?
No, I can.
Okay, just checking.
Wow, that what I feel like I didn't spend a long time talking about that. You make it seem like I'm
No,
dragging
I
or
just
something.
thought like you talk about both and then you talk about how you feel about them.
Oh, I don't know. Okay. Next is the Infiltrator, where it is a maze-like puzzle where you connect a line of electricity from a starting point back to itself on this kind of sphere. And this one is timed. So basically, you have a dot, and the timer doesn't start until you move. But say from that dot, you have like an arrow pointing up and an arrow pointing to the left. You can go up or left. Once you go up, Then you have, say there's no arrows. Oh crap, I went the wrong way. I have to go back down and now go left. And now there's an arrow going left and right. Okay, go left again, and kind of have that until you reach back to the beginning. And it is timed. If you run out of time, it just takes your electricity wave all the way back to the start and you have to redo the whole thing. Every time you make a successful move, it does add a little bit back to that timer. But this, kind of opposite of the electrolyzer, I think is a bit too hard. Some of the puzzles, especially the more difficult ones, you have to make a lot of moves in not a lot of time. And trying to remember that, the sequence every time you get sent back to the beginning, can make it very difficult.
I actually like both these mechanics. I didn't really have a problem with either of them.
I mean, I liked both. I thought they were both really fun. Just my tiny little complaints, I guess. Anyway,
Skill
now
points.
we move on to skill points. These are kind of precursors to achievements. You know, as long back as Ratchet and Clank Going Commando, there were achievements in games that I was obsessed with. So skill points, they're little side tasks that the player can do. The game itself, it kind of gives it the only hint you have to go on. I think this is something I don't particularly like. The only hint you have to go on of how to unlock a skill point in game is the name of the skill point. I think a lot of them are kind of hard to figure out in a like, yeah, obviously now you can just look them up, but it is kind of hard to figure out in the game itself. But it's such a wide variety of things, from killing birds on a planet to destroying everything on a planet to killing all enemies on a planet with only the wrench without dying, to destroying a snow dam. Large variety of things. You can also collecting these skill points unlocks the ship customization options, the different noses and wings, and the different paint jobs, and also extra stuff like cheats, which cheats, quote unquote, meaning Ratchet is now in a tux, or everyone has a big head, or everyone has a small head, you know, not like things that affect gameplay. It's typically just visual stuff.
Yeah, I actually really like the challenge for the skill points.
Yeah, they're really, really cool.
They are fun, but it's like you said, I definitely had to look them up.
Yeah. Being, you know, a guy who loves achievements, it's really cool. Like Somniac really pioneers in gaming culture with their achievements, their skill points. Then also, Noah, you talk about challenge mode.
Challenge mode is Insomniac's version of New Game Plus. You restart the story with all of your upgraded weapons, armor, and health, but enemies in return are also stronger. So this mode unlocks Mega and Ultra versions of weapons, even for returning weapons, which, if you'll remember, could not be upgraded in the base game itself.
Yeah,
We actually also played this mode religiously.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's like it's a really funny story about challenge mode. I don't know if it's a funny story. You know, when we first played Ratchet and Clank, Going Commando, way back, we got stuck. I don't remember where we got stuck. We just got stuck. And then a friend of ours who had already beaten the game, unlocked all the weapons, unlocked the best armor and everything, transferred his save from his memory card onto our memory card. So we were just in challenge mode already at the final boss, and that's when we played the game over and over and over and over again. So it's actually like this last time, like just, you know, a few months ago when I played through the game, Going Commando again, was actually the first time you could say, quote unquote, legitimately beat the initial game as intended. Yeah, it's cool. It's classic New Game Plus. The mega versions of weapons are cool. It doesn't change the appearance at all, I'm pretty sure, which is, you know, a shame. And then once you buy the mega version, and then you have to re-level it again in the, you know, originally, and once you level it up again, that's when you get the ultra version of the weapon. I mean, yeah, it's just playing, you know, it's just playing the same game again. It's New Game Plus. There's not really much I could say about it.
It's still a good time because it's a great game, though.
I mean, at a
Why
million
don't you talk
percent.
about the collectibles?
Yeah. So the game only has two collectibles really. There's the nanotech upgrades, which I don't know. There's only 10 of them. I don't really count those as collectibles in the sense that I think of collectibles, but I guess technically they are. And then the platinum bolts. These are, you know, similar to the gold bolts in Ratchet and Clank, or the titanium bolts of Ratchet and Clank Up Your Arsenal. This is just the classic Ratchet and Clank collectible. Also, never said this before, bolts are your money. That's what bolts are. You use bolts to buy weapons and armor and gadgets, currency. So platinum bolts, there are 40 total to collect, scattered amongst all the various worlds. And then you use them to buy weapon modifications. I believe there are two, maybe three locations where you can buy them, and there are like different modifications at each location. So if you do have, all 40 bolts and you want to buy all of them, you have to go to all of those locations. I mean, the bolts are just, fine because they're just a collectible. Use them to buy weapon modifications such as, acid damage or, electricity damage or like a lock-on modification for weapons. It's like I think the weapon mods are cool in theory, but in practice they are negligible. The kind of damage modifications I feel like don't damage enough to be any sort of noteworthy, and even the lock-on stuff I never used because again the auto aiming is so good you don't really have to deal with any sort of extra aiming annoyances.
I agree. I mean, I didn't really care about the weapon modifications. I just like collecting the bolts.
Yes, of course. Anyway, we'll go ahead, move on to our notable trophies here. So I have three I'd like to talk about. One, Wrench Ninja 2 Massacre. I guess also most of the trophies in this game are also skill points, because the game came out on PS2, did not have trophies, but they remastered the entire PS2 trilogy on PS3. Those did have trophies, but the entire trophy list is basically just the skill points list. So you're kind of looking at both at the same time. Wrench Ninja 2 Massacre. Kill all enemies with a wrench and without dying on the planet Joba. Joba is actually one of the more notable planets to me. It's just one that I always remember, and this is a reason why. Because it's a very this was a skill point that when I was younger on PS2 playing this game, trying to get everything, spent hours and hours and hours on, and could not get, and I didn't know what I was doing wrong. And it actually wasn't until I went and got all the trophies on the PS3 version that I discovered there's like a secret hidden area of enemies that you have to kill that I just never found. Fun times, very
That
fun. Yeah,
that's rude.
yeah. And then destruction time. All weapons, all fully upgraded. This one is a bit misleading, actually, because you would think reading this that you would have to get all of the like ultra versions of the weapons. That is not true. You only have to upgrade them the first time. So like even if you start challenge mode, you don't have to buy the mega weapons and get the ultra weapons. You don't have to do that. You just have to do the original upgrade. So I both like and dislike this trophy for basically the same reason, which is it forces you to use all the guns. I like that because there are a lot of guns. Playing Ratchet and Clank, you want to use a lot of different weapons. So, it's a great way to kind of force you to experiment with the different weapons and use them a certain amount. The thing I don't like is some of the weapons are not good. They are not useful. They are not that effective, but you have to use them to upgrade them because you have to for the trophy. I think probably the best example I have of annoying weapons is the shield charger. What the shield charger does is it makes a shield around you that deflects damage, and can also, if you run into an enemy with it, it hurts the enemy and pushes them back. You would think, being a shield, that by blocking damage, the shield would upgrade. No, you have to kill people with it, and it does not do a lot of damage when you run into people. I Googled and looked up a cheap method to get this trophy because it is very annoying to do. And I would say that's probably the most egregious example of having to upgrade a weapon. But there are others that it's just like the weapons aren't good. You don't get them till late in the game, and there's not a lot of opportunities for XP and stuff. It's kind of annoying.
Right.
And then last, Museum Tour. Gain access to the Insomniac Museum. This is something that, until I played through this game on PS3 a few months ago, did not know existed. But in one of the worlds, there is a teleporter, a portal that you find on top of a fountain that if you activate it at exactly, I think it's 3 a.m., it takes you to the Insomniac Museum. Or I think if you get all 30 skill points, you can then activate it whenever. It's a really cool thing, a little extra thing where you can see, experiment like enemy models that weren't used or vehicles that were used. How and you find these little buttons, whatever you interact with, and you have someone from the development team narrate and say kind of what this exhibit is and everything, and a lot of stuff of different textures and how they tested kind of different slopes to be like, oh, Ratchet shouldn't be able to walk up a slope greater than this angle and things like that. Very interesting to just kind of take time and
That
learn
is
more
really
about.
cool. I didn't
Yeah,
know that existed.
yeah, it was really cool to learn more just about the creation of one of my favorite game series of all time. Like how with explosions, they actually created, I forget, they had, I think, a name for it. I forget what it was called, but they created uh Noah, you sort of know coding. What do you call that? Like
What, like a
like a
program, an
mechanic, a
engine, a
program, an
mechanic?
engine. Yeah, like an engine. They created like an engine, a program that they could just input values and it would create an explosion. With those values of like in terms of size, color, debris, stuff like that. Yeah,
That
just
is
really,
really
yeah, yeah.
interesting.
It's really interesting, to learn more about the just makings of
I do
video
like to
games.
hear about it, yeah,
Yeah,
because a lot goes into it.
absolutely. Yeah, it's one of those things of being like, man, I can't believe that this game started from this. You know.
Right. Alrighty, so let's move
Alrighty.
on to our questions.
Yep. All right, Noah.
Oh,
Favorite.
Matt.
Yeah, Noah. Favorite moments.
Uh, my favorite moment is the reveal of Angela. Like I said, she's just my favorite character in this game, and one of my favorite in the entire Ratchet and Clank franchise. And ever since like after she reveals who she gets rescued and she becomes one of the gang, and she's in the end credit scene, and it's like she's with them hanging out. I thought that's where they were gonna go next. I always hoped they did.
Yeah, no, she's a really cool character. Absolutely, one of my favorites. Mine is the Captain Quark reveal. It's funny, like I had no memory of this, despite the dozens and dozens and dozens of times playing this game on PS2. When I went through, because when we played it on PS2, we didn't really know who Quark was, because that was the only game we had played. Like we knew he was like this, old hero, whatever. Ratchet and Clank defeated him. That's all I knew about him. But getting kind of the whole picture when I played through it recently really just made that even more cool. And I had completely forgotten, like I didn't realize that he was Fizzwidget. That completely threw me when I played through it again.
I can't believe you missed that actually. What
Anyway,
was your favorite boss battle?
my favorite boss battle is the Thugs for Less boss when you fight him as Giant Clank. We talked about the Giant Clank sections earlier. It's just a very fun fight. Between the two Giant Clank fights, there's him and then the spaceship, the mothership. I didn't really like the mothership fight. It's just very weird and I just didn't care for it as much. But this fight, you're a giant robot, he's in a giant robot, it's a fist fight. There's Thugs for Less helicopters shooting at you everywhere. You got to chase him around and shoot him, hit him, bomb him, whatever you got to do to take him down. It's a really fun fight.
Yeah, I agree. My favorite boss fight is actually the final boss fight against the Protopet.
Yeah, I get that.
Because I think it's just an ironic, hilarious final boss in this game. And it's menacing. It's hard if you're not upgraded. It is hard. Even if you are upgraded, it can be hard.
Yeah. I mean, speaking back to when I said recently was the first time I actually beat the game legitimately, so you would maybe say as intended. That was also the first time I beat the Protopet without using the Rhino. When we had that old save that we just played on challenge mode again and again and again, I never once was able to beat the Protopet with all my other weapons and gadgets. I always had to resort to just using the Rhino to take him out easily because of how overpowered the Rhino is. It is a difficult final boss fight.
That's fair. But I liked it.
Oh, I mean, it's a great
Because
boss
it
fight.
was
It's just
difficult
hard.
and funny.
Yeah, absolutely. Noah, any miscellaneous things that you like we didn't mention?
Yeah, I want to say that I really liked the world designs. They had 22 locations, and many of them felt very unique. Like you said, there were casinos. There was one that was like a city. There's wastelands. There's an ice world, a lava world. Like it's really cool to see that differentiation, and each level is pretty equally deep.
Yeah, no, I 1,000,000% agree with you on that. My thing is kind of goes along with your thing. The game layout itself it's the way Ratchet and Clank and Going Commando work and up your arsenal, but admittedly to a lesser extent. Another thing I think knocks up your arsenal is in the first two games, it's basically the same layout for every planet. You arrive on the planet, you pick one of two, maybe three directions to go, and you travel along that linear path of the level, which then gets you to a person or that has either a like a typically maybe a shortcut scene where you either get details to your next location or a new gadget. Typically, it's one of those two things, a new item, and then you take a taxi or some sort of shortcut back to your ship, where you then go the other direction to continue exploring the planet somewhere else to once again get either a new location, a gadget, or something. And my God, that just works so well to me. It
It's perfect
it's
for
perfect.
walkthroughs and collectibles.
It's perfect. Absolutely.
Because I
A-
needed that for Jack 1.
yeah, each location, each like when you walk in a direction, maybe 20 minutes you're going along that. And I mean, I think the only exception is the very last planet only has one direction to go to, but that's the last planet. And sometimes you can't progress this way because you need a gadget that's not on this planet. So okay, I got to go right to unlock this new planet. I got the gadget at this new planet and then come back and go the other direction. It's just, I mean, it's great. I love it. I love that layout. It is absolutely perfect to me. I don't think you can do it better. Like I think there are other games that their kind of map layouts are as good as Going Commando in Ratchet and Clank, because I do think Going Commando kind of perfected it from the original. Like you can do it as good, but I don't think you can do it better than that.
Alright, so I'll tell you what I
Um,
didn't like about the game.
no, what didn't you like about the game?
If I had to list a couple things I didn't like, I would say that, like you said, the Clank missions are sparse. There could be more, both Giant Clank and Little Clank. I always thought, they always use him as like a puzzle solving mechanic where he's like controlling robots and doing a completely different thing than Ratchet is. But I always thought that Clank could have a much more central role because he's a robot. He has a lot more abilities than say like Daxter.
Yeah, no, I
You
agree.
know?
He's basically for 80% of the game, he's just a backpack. And yeah, like you
Yeah,
have
and that's my problem with like the
yeah,
whole franchise. It's
yeah,
not just going
yeah,
Commando.
and that's even like I mean, yeah, he's still useful because of the whole, like he's your jetpack thing, but I do agree with what you're saying there.
Yeah, I mean, like they always give him strong abilities in these games. At some point, they make him like a god of time. Go get there, and he's always extremely intelligent, but he just is used for cutscenes and flying. What did you not like about the game?
So what I didn't like about the game, I basically have two things. One, the game is really, really, really hard. I maybe take one really off of that. I said like it specifically pertains to the addition of the armor system. It kind of sucks because getting bolts is not easy until you get to challenge mode, because totally did not mention this in challenge mode. We should have. Once you get to challenge mode, you get a bolt multiplier. So as you are basically, the more enemies you kill without getting hit, the higher your multiplier goes till up to times 20. So you get times 20 bolts for, every bolt, which makes it really, really fast to get money in challenge mode. But I'm specifically referring to the first time you play the game when you don't have all your upgraded weapons and armor. I guess it's fine because, when you keep dying, you can then, keep killing the same enemies over and over and getting money and destroying the same boxes and getting. No, I don't think the boxes respawn, killing the same enemies and getting money from those enemies over and over again. And eventually, if you're stuck on the same part long enough, you'll be able to get better weapons, or your weapons will upgrade, your health will upgrade, and you'll be able to buy armor. I don't like that I have to do that I'm kind of stuck in this same spot for so long because the enemies kill me in two hits because I have weaker armor because I decided to buy weapons, and there's nothing I can do about it because there's so much on the screen at once that I just don't have the capacity to dodge everything I need to. That's kind of
You're
that.
gonna have trouble with Elden Ring.
No, I think it's
I'm
it's it's
just
different.
joking.
Yeah. And then the XP thing. This kind of goes with upgrading the weapons and the health, which you have to do both of those for trophies/skill points. And it's the only reason that you have to play in challenge mode, other than getting money. But there is a money farming part of this game that I absolutely did. When you visit a planet for the first time, you get XP for every enemy you kill. When you visit a planet for the second time, you get 70% less XP for the same enemies. That's stupid. I think that drop is way, way, way too severe. I understand having a bonus for the first time you visit a planet, but I think the fact that it drops 70% makes it impossible to grind in this game without going through challenge mode again and again, because of the fact that that XP drop is so severe that it is absolutely insane. And I very much tested it. Insane how one would be expected to do the whole game without going to challenge mode. And while challenge mode, it's the same thing I say with any new game plus. It's fine. I like that they're there. If I want to play it, I will, but I don't want to be forced to. And to get all trophies in this game, you're kind of forced to, and for this reason, and I don't like that.
I'm kind of the opposite because I'll be like, I won't play New Game Plus unless I have to.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I want to play it because I want to. Like,
Yeah, it's just different
I
opinions.
played Going Commando dozens and dozens of times. Replayability, hell yeah. I've played this game dozens of
Absolutely.
times. I will gladly pick up and play this game 24/7, 7 days a week. I just, and there are several other games that I feel similar. It's just, I don't want to feel like I have to play New Game Plus to fully get everything. I want it to be a bonus thing, not a required thing. So, yeah, just to reiterate again, replayability, absolutely.
Yep.
Noah, replayability?
Well, yeah, duh. Like we
Okay,
said
just
the
just
whole
want
time we replayed it
yeah, I just want to
many,
make
many
sure.
times.
So, Noah, what are your final thoughts on Ratchet and Clank Going
I kind of
Commando?
already said my final thoughts earlier where Ratchet and Clank Going Commando remains today to be my second favorite of the series, whereas my first favorite is taken by the newest game.
I understand that. Yeah, just I don't think enough can ever be said by how much absolutely love this game. One of my all-time faves. Um, yeah, I definitely feel like I have gushed about this game enough to fulfill me for this episode of the podcast.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's Ratchet and Clank Going Commando. Now, Noah, we're going to move on to the indie bit, the bit where we talk about indie games.
Yay.
So today we are talking about Octodad Dadliest Catch. So what is Octodad Dadliest Catch about? Well, it is about an octopus who is disguised as a man in a suit that is married to his wife and father of 2 children, a young boy and a young girl. And, you're basically just trying to get through his everyday life being an octopus trying to pass off as a man. How the game works is, the game, it's pretty short. I think there's only like 8 levels. And in each level, you have to control this octopus trying to accomplish tasks using tentacles. So, his walking is very, like, you control each leg separately, and they're tentacles, so they can stretch out pretty far. So you have to try to walk. You move his arms around, which again are tentacles. They don't have, bones or any structure, so they just flop around, and you have to control them to, grab things. And, you go through, you visit a store and do a shopping trip. You do chores in the yard. You visit an aquarium. Just trying to do normal day-to-day family things while passing off as an octopus. As well, being an octopus, passing off as a human. Noah, did you like Octodad, Dadliest Catch?
I love Octodad. I
Also,
actually
I'll go
played.
ahead and say, this made by Young Horses, the team who made Bug Snacks.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Octodad. Paige. Octodad. You remember that game is made by the people who made Bug Snacks. Yeah, isn't that crazy? Yeah, fantastic games. We got to keep an eye on that company.
Yeah. Very zany company. I like it. I like what they're doing.
Yes, that's what I love about it. But no, I played this game. Here's a really cool function is you can play it local multiplayer, and I controlled the left half, the left arm and the left leg, and she controlled the right arm and the right leg. And so it's the same experience as the main game. It's just having fun with another person as well. You know, I think the game is very inclusive. The story is just adorable. It's so cute. And they also try to make it like emotional in some scenes, and it's like funny sad, you know what I mean? The gameplay itself is also very humorous. It's hard to control, you know, and your tasks are not difficult. Like Jaden said, it's like mow the lawn. And that becomes the hardest task when you have to think about each leg at a time and you hold on to what your arms are touching, and it's just a lot going on.
Yeah.
Did you like it?
Oh, I absolutely loved it. I first saw it, years before I played it. I watched some guys on YouTube play it, like the two-player version like you're talking about. And then I played it myself, and it's great. It's just really fun. It's just really fun to do. It's weird. It's crazy. It was a nice, like, it took me 3 hours maybe to beat the game, get all the trophies. There's not a lot, obviously. It's a short game, but I mean, it's fun. It's silly, just trying to control everything. There's at one point, kind of you spend a lot of time in the aquarium. Like at one point, you're playing a bunch of like arcade mini games, but as an octopus. You're grocery shopping, but as an octopus. Mowing the lawn, but you're an octopus. Yeah, I mean it's just fun. It's just silly fun, and I love it. I mean, yeah, no. What's our next indie bit game gonna be?
Hold on, I didn't think of a game. I'm looking.
That's funny. I feel like I can remember texting you earlier. Hey, you have to pick an indie bit game.
Yeah, the only text I saw from you earlier was when you said you were ready, and then I saw that you had sent me a few messages before that, but I did not get notified about any of them.
Well, that's weird because you responded to. I said, hey, don't forget, Going Commando, Octodad, your turn to pick indie bit, and you said,
Oh,
and
I
you
thought it
responded
said
to that
Going
message.
Commando, Octodad, Indie
Oct
Bit.
Octodad. Okay, that's fair.
Uh,
That's fair. Well, as you're looking at that, I just found this article from Game Rant. A look at some of the saddest PlayStation trophies ever released, and I can't wait to read that when we're done recording.
It's funny.
Go ahead when you pick a game, just say "and we're back," so I know when to cut. And we're back.
But we're not back yet.
Oh, sorry, we are not back yet.
And we're back.
And we're back. I'm just gonna say to the audience, you guys do not understand how long we were sitting here before Noah picked a game. Noah, go ahead. What's the next game?
Damn it, dude, I already forgot what it was.
Moving out.
Oh yeah, Moving Out. I've played it. You play as movers. It's kind of cartoony, has like an Overcooked vibe.
Oh,
And you have
I think I've seen. I think I
Yeah,
saw
yeah,
a
you have a
play,
time
a little
limit
bit of
to
a
move
play of that.
everything out, and you can chuck couches and TVs out of windows. It's really funny.
Yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah, okay, I know
Right.
what that is. Yeah, okay, cool. Okay, well that is our next indie bit. Moving out. Yeah, cool. We'll talk about it. So don't forget, new episodes every other Monday, except for this one and the last one. Yeah, after this episode, we are on our normal release schedule once again for the foreseeable future. Rate and subscribe. Tell us if you like our show or tell us if you don't, and tell us why. Tell your friends and enemies about the podcast. You can follow our Instagram, the Super Gamer Bros, for updates on everything we do. And you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, Super Gamer Bros, one word, capital S, capital G, capital V, period at the end, where we upload videos every Friday. Our most recent videos being part 7 of our Crash Bandicoot Let's Play. And actually, no, that is not true. Our two most recent videos are part 8 of our Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga Let's Play and part 8 of our Mortal Kombat X Let's Play, which is actually coming out today, the same day as this video. This is not a video, the same day as this podcast. So when you're done listening to this podcast, go watch that video. And if you're sitting there thinking, well, I haven't watched any of the Mortal Kombat videos, why would I watch part 8? Just watch all 8 parts. Boom, problem solved. Yeah, we upload every Friday. Yeah, so thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys next game.
Bye.